Welcome to day 4 of your Freedom from Craving series. So today the craving card we are going over is craving sweets. So this is the card you will use for sugar cravings. And really, honestly, you can use it for any type of craving, salty, savory, sweet. Basically, if you have a craving hit you out of nowhere, this is the card you would grab and go through. And what I'm going to do is walk you through the process so you know how to put a stop to that craving or help yourself in choosing something a little more supportive for you. So I want to do a little disclaimer on cravings before we go any further. So disclaimer on cravings. Cravings, I didn't create these cards to get you to like willpower through all of your any desire for food, right? Or any desire to enjoy a sweet treat or anything like that. That's not why these cards are designed. These cards are designed for those more consuming cravings, those pestering urges, those things that really feel hard to say no to. It's really normal for anyone to desire something sweet. Like, oh, I finished dinner. I would like a little sweet, thing to eat. Or, oh, here's a cookie. Like, I would like a cookie. Those kind of feelings are very normal. Like a normal eater who doesn't struggle with binge or overeating or weight struggles has those desires too. And so I don't want you to feel, because we're talking about cravings, that I'm saying go use these as these willpower tools to stick to your diet. This is more to really bring awareness to your patterns, because a lot of times, like sometimes it is a genuine desire for food. But what I see for many, many people is a lot of times it's more of an automatic pattern or a habitual pattern or an emotionally driven thing. For example, I'll give you some examples. Let's say someone's got kids or a busy day at the office or a busy life, which is most of us, right? Kids or no kids. And let's say finally the house gets quiet and finally you're able to shut down for a sec and just have a moment to yourself, and then boom, craving for food comes in, craving for sugar comes in, and then once you start, it's really hard to stop. Or, let's say every day at 3 p.m., like clockwork, after your midday meeting or whatever that is, or 4 p.m., like right around that afternoon time, boom, you have this urge to go into the snack cabinet or get something sweet or need something sugary as a pick me up. Those could be you needing more food during the day, right? Like we talked about with card 1, maybe your needs aren't fully satisfied with what you're eating. This could be the case. And so, disclaimer, for these to work, you want to definitely use what I taught in card 1 of really having that foundation laid of fueling yourself with satisfying meals throughout the day. But let's pretend you're fueling yourself through satisfying meals and you have these kind of various urges come up. This card is really beautiful to put a pause between you and your urge or craving and decide, hey, is this the real me wanting this thing? Or is this pattern? Or is this emotion? Or is this habitual thing that I'm used to, right? And if you have no idea what I mean by pattern, check the last video. I believe yesterday and the day before, I talked a lot about patterns. Basically, it's just a repetitive thing that you do that gets almost programmed in you, feels kind of second nature. So you'll want to use this card to act as that little break between that urge to go for food and keep going, that urge to do that, and and really connect to yourself and decide, hey, is this a supportive choice or unsupportive choice, and how do I make whatever my decision is, whether it's food or no food, more supportive choice for myself. So now I'm going to go through the cards and kind of teach as I go with the cards, and I'll use the example of, I think I used the end of a day on another video. So I'll use the example of kind of like the 3 or 4 p.m. afternoon slump, and you want something and it's like a craving that's like in your mind that you can't say no to. Can anyone relate to this if you're watching? And also if you're watching, now is your time to grab your journal, because I want you to go through this with me and jot down some notes on how I do these questions, because these will be really supportive for you. So the first question is all about asking yourself where this craving or urge is coming from. So the way I have it written here is tap in and ask yourself if you're truly hungering for something sweet. And by the way, you can use this for you could just say truly hungering for something, even if it's not a sugar craving, right? And are seeking out sugar or food for an emotional or physical pick-me-up. So basically, are you hungry or do you have a desire? Or like, are you seeking it to numb or escape emotionally? Are you seeking it to like get a pick me up at 3 p.m. because you're tired? Are you seeking it for something else other than, man, this thing just sounds good? Because there's a huge difference between, hey, I would like to enjoy something, and this automatic reaching for something because you need it for something else besides, just plain desire. Another piece would be to ask yourself is, even if it doesn't feel emotionally driven, right? Is it kind of like an automatic pattern? So the way you see if something's an automatic pattern is if it happens automatically without thinking about it, if it has any regularity to it, like regular times of the day, it happens at night when the kids go down, happens at 3 p.m. when the afternoon slump happens right after my breakfast. This is like a regular thing. There's proactive things you need to do during the day for sure. It's a lot of what we talk about in our program, so you don't even have to deal with these cravings, right? But in the moment, you want to check, hey, is this an actual desire? Is this an emotional desire? Like I'm just trying to numb or cope or escape or get some payoff from eating this thing, which happens a lot with sugar because sugar has kind of a numbing effect. And it either has a pick-me-up effect or a numbing effect, depending on the person. Or is this just like a habitual pattern and an automatic pattern that I'm going into, right? And so if it's an automatic pattern or an emotional pattern, you're actually going to switch to your, it's called something else in your packet. I believe it's Craving Stress Snacking in your packet, but you're going to switch to your card that supports you with emotional eating that we went through on day 2. So this card for emotional eating is if you check in and realize, whoa, this isn't just a desire, this is something else. This is a habit or an emotional urge to eat, then you're going to switch to your day 2 card. Now, let's say it's a desire and you just decide, no, you know what? I just want some chocolate, because every now and then we want chocolate. And ladies, especially that time of the month. Sorry, guys, if you're watching. Number 2, reflect and ask yourself, and I highly suggest journaling or writing this out in your phone, getting out of your head. It's when you're in your head, it doesn't have a chance to release. We want to release. So when you do the emotional piece, you're going into more of an emotional release and really processing. So you'll definitely want to use the journal for this one. But I still would want you to get out of your head for the stress snacking one. So number 2 is reflect and ask yourself if you've been trying to control your intake of it. Have you been eating enough overall? So this is a beautiful question because a lot of times we get pissed off at our cravings and our urges to binge or overeat or whatever that is. And it's really actually not the craving or the urge is a symptom of what's actually going on. So for many of our students, when they first start in our program 1-2 weeks in, they'll tell me things like their nighttime eating. They'll be like, oh, I still have binge urges. What's going on? And it'll be like the first week and they'll be like, I'm eating enough. And then we'll look at their food and they're not eating enough. And that's okay. It's a transition, right? But number 2 is asking yourself, hey, proactively throughout my day, have I been feeding myself? Have I been nourishing myself? Have I been taking care of myself? Have I felt satisfied regularly? And that's more of a question for you to support yourself the next day. Because if the answer is no there, it's not your craving that's the issue. It's, oh, dang, I haven't been, supporting myself and my needs. And I need to do so tomorrow. So that's just kind of a reflection question to make sure you're supporting yourself regularly. And then number 3 is honor what you're craving or hunger for in the moment from a place of connection and self-love. Slow down, stay present, connected, and enjoy it. So here's an interesting thing with sugar cravings, especially if we've been on a diet. Or any craving. Most people feel like when they say yes to the food, it's a bad thing. They blew their diet. And then there's this whole thing that happens where it's like, oh, I need to keep going because I shouldn't be eating this and I'm not going to eat it tomorrow. We're actually going to go over that card tomorrow. I blew my diet and I just screw it. I'm just going to keep eating and start over the next day. That's our card tomorrow. So stay tuned for that if this is your pattern. But a lot of people get really disconnected from themselves and it's almost like they're letting themselves do this forbidden thing and then they keep going and going and going and it creates this very disconnected experience versus like, okay, like it's safe to enjoy a cookie right now. Like I'm okay. I'm an okay person. It's fine. I'm going to enjoy this cookie and I'm going to move on, right? So slow down, get in your body, hand on your belly, take a few breaths and like enjoy it. Like taste every last bite. If you have any oops. Sorry. Siri heard me say, oh gosh. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Instagram. SIRI. I don't want my phone to pick it up. Thought I was talking to her, so she paused my video. So, okay. So slow down, enjoy your food, taste every last bite, let the experience register, reassure your guilt. If you're having trouble with guilt, check out day 1, card 1, right? And enjoy it. And, pause after, right? Just because you're having one doesn't mean it has to go into more and more. Actually, Craving card number 6 on Saturday is going to be all about, having second helpings and so forth. And so this is giving you the permission to enjoy. And what we're doing here is we're not saying, no, you can't have it. We're saying, make sure it's the real you that's choosing to have it, right? Not the patterned you, not the emotional you, not the habitual you, not the disconnected you. Like the real you is making this decision. And 5 is release any guilt, complete the snack, go about your day, and go live your freaking life, right? Now, notice how I didn't say, go on a huge indulgence and keep going and going and going because you can, and we just gave you permission, right? I said slow down, be present, make a choice connected to yourself, enjoy a piece or two, a couple, whatever feels right, and then move on. Breathe, release the guilt, let yourself know you complete the meal, and move on. And say this power statement: I am eating this from a place of self-love and trust. I release any guilt for honoring my desires, and I give myself permission to move on and live life fully. Now, and that's it, so basically what we're doing is we're just making sure that if you make this decision, it's you that's making the decision. It's the highest version of you that's connected to yourself versus this automatic, irrational pattern part of you that's on overdrive. And I know that's going to make sense to a lot of our students, right? Because we talk, really about this art of separation. And, and if you're having trouble doing this separation, like separating from your patterns, separating from your cravings, having your urges are feeling really hard to say no to, if using a card like this sounds like a dream, like you're like, hey, for me, when I have a craving or an urge, like, even though this is probably really helpful, things are going to be really hard. Please take the opportunity to speak with myself or Stella. So what we did for this series is we opened up extra spots in our calendar to offer complimentary breakthrough calls to anyone who feels like they need support, needs guidance. And on these calls, all we're doing is we're a safe space for you to share what's been happening. We'll share exactly what's going on. We'll be able to get to the bottom of it, uncover why you're struggling, and lay out a beautiful personalized plan to stop. And then if you, and then for beyond the call, right? Like say you want more support and you need to decide what that's going to look like. If we're the best people to support you, we'll show you what that is and we'll answer any questions. And if we don't feel like we are, and we feel like there's a better solution for you, we will point you in the direction that is, so you are supported and guided and get to exactly where you want to be. And all you have to do to book that call is go to the link that I will post in Facebook, but beatingbingeeating.com/craving-freedom-call. I'll get that on Instagram, on IGTV, and I will also get that in our caption on Facebook I'll type it on Facebook because I can now. On IG, it's a little harder. And then if you're watching this recording, you can just click the button or the link probably someplace around this video. Oh, I just realized Instagram can see my pants. I have like a nice shirt on, but I have a neon purple leggings on. Instagram, you caught me. So awesome, ladies. Cool. Who has any questions? Any questions for me while we're doing this? I would love to hear from you guys. I'm going to put the link to book the call in the chat. These calls are great. We have loved speaking to everyone on the series. It's been really cool. It's been great to see how much these cards are helping. It's been amazing to give women that like aha moment or perspective shift that they need, that you really don't realize what's causing your struggle. For a lot of you, there's these beliefs that your struggle is a willpower problem, that your struggle is there's something wrong with you, that you need to control your eating more, control yourself more. There's this, these beliefs that it might be hard to find freedom, that you might never have it. And one thing I love about our calls is it's really like taking a look at your personal story and what's happening with you and just showing you that that's not the case and showing you why that's not the case and really liberating you. A lot of reviews from our clients are within the first 2 weeks of our program, or just on that call, say someone doesn't become a client, there's this liberation that happens. And there's this, there's nothing worse. Like when you're feeling down about your eating habits, when you are struggling with depression or low feelings or low self-worth, we think that the more we criticize ourselves and the more we beat ourselves up, the harder we're going to work. But really, it's just like, it's stacking pressure and it's stacking blame and it's stacking things that eat at your self-esteem and eat at your self-worth and eat at your belief in yourself. And before you know it, you almost create this identity with struggling with weight, this identity with your food struggle. And one thing that I think we do really well that's very unique is really help you step into a new identity and shed those layers, because the way we look at binge eating, the way we look at overeating, the way we look at cravings, it's completely like independent of you in a way. Like it's objective and you see why they're happening and you see exactly what you need to do to stop them. So a lot of this series is about what you need to do to stop them in the moment, but I'm really big on you never having cravings. Like, well, desires and cravings are normal. I'm talking about the consuming ones. Like, I don't want you to need craving cards. I want you to do things proactively in your life that get you to a place where urges to binge or overeat, what's the word? Compulsively. My brain just stopped. That goes away, right? You don't have to have a packet of cards in your purse or on your phone. And these are beautiful and these are great, to develop those patterns and to shift your ways of being. But I want to get you to this place where it's second nature, where you are not having to struggle with anymore. And if that's something you're interested in, I highly suggest booking the call. Even if it's not working with us long term, just the call is going to be really liberating and supportive, and you'll see actually what's happening and know kind of what that looks like to get to a place where you don't have to think about this stuff anymore, and you are relating to food and shifting the way you relate to food, and you're eating in a way that supports you with handling your body's physiological needs, so it doesn't have to scream at you to eat food and scream at you to binge or overeat or scream at you to eat all the chocolate like we talked about today or whatever that is. So yes, if you're struggling, I just you don't have to do this alone. You do not have to do this alone. So go to that link to book the call. Tomorrow I'm excited. Tomorrow we're talking all about breaking free of the on-track, off-track roller coaster with dieting. So that whole like, screw it, blew my diet, gonna start over tomorrow conversation, we have a cool card for that. We have a really unique perspective of that too. So I think that's gonna help you shift a ton.